The crystal champagne flutes clinked as my sister Diana held court in our parents' expansive living room. Her perfectly manicured hands gestured animatedly as she regaled her wealthy friends with stories about her latest business venture, a luxury spa chain funded entirely by our parents' retirement savings. I sat quietly in the corner wearing my simple black dress from H&M, watching the scene unfold. To them I was invisible. Just Olivia, the family disappointment, the one who settled for a secretary job instead of following the family's entrepreneurial legacy. "Oh, you haven't met my sister?" Diana's voice dripped with false sweetness as she noticed one of her friends glancing my way. "Olivia's a secretary at some corporation downtown. Nothing exciting, just typing and filing, you know how it is." Her friend, dripping in designer labels, gave me a dismissive once-over. "Oh, how nice." I took a slow sip of my champagne, hiding my smile. If they only knew that some corporation was Sterling Enterprises, one of the largest technology conglomerates in the country. And I wasn't just any secretary, I was the CEO. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. "Olivia," my mother called from across the room, "be a dear and get more ice from the kitchen." I stood up, playing my role perfectly. After all, I'd been doing it for years. Let them think I was just a secretary. Let them underestimate me. It made what was coming next so much sweeter. The thing about being underestimated is that people talk freely around you. They don't guard their secrets. As I walked to the kitchen, I heard Diana discussing her latest brilliant business move. "The spa chain is just the beginning," she boasted. "We're in talks with Maven Industries for a major expansion. Once they acquire us, we'll be set for life." I almost dropped the ice tray. Maven Industries, the company that had been desperately trying to arrange a merger with Sterling Enterprises for months. The same company whose CEO was meeting with me tomorrow to discuss that very merger. Diana had no idea she'd just handed me the final piece of a puzzle I'd been assembling for years. You see, 5 years ago when I founded Sterling Enterprises, I made a choice to keep my success private. Not out of shame, but because I saw how my family operated. They'd already burned through my older brother Marcus's tech startup funding. They drained my younger sister Diana's trust fund for her first failed business venture. Anyone who showed signs of success became their personal ATM. So I built my empire in secret. While they mocked my secretary job, I was closing billion-dollar deals. While they pitted my modest apartment, I was buying up prime real estate through shell companies. While they dismissed me as unsuccessful, I was becoming one of the most powerful CEOs in the industry. "Olivia." Diana's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "What's taking so long with that ice?" I returned to the living room where Diana was now showing off her engagement ring. She'd met her fiancé, Thomas Wright, at a charity gala, another thing she loved to brag about. What she didn't know was that Thomas's investment firm had been trying to secure a meeting with Sterling's CEO for months. "The wedding will be the event of the season," Diana gushed. "Thomas's firm is handling a huge merger next week. Once that goes through, we're thinking of buying a house in the Hamptons." I caught Thomas's eye across the room. He quickly looked away, tugging at his collar. He knew exactly which merger she was talking about, the one that required my signature to succeed. "Speaking of business," my father interjected, "Olivia, surely you could ask your boss to give Diana's spa chain a corporate account? Every little bit helps." I smiled politely. "I'll see what I can do." Diana rolled her eyes. "Please, Dad. She's just a secretary. She doesn't have that kind of pull." "Now, Diana," my mother chided half-heartedly, "everyone has to start somewhere. Not everyone can be as successful as you and Thomas." I excused myself to the bathroom, needing a moment alone. In my purse was the merger proposal from Maven Industries, the company Diana was counting on to save her failing spa chain. The same company that would be worthless after tomorrow's meeting with Sterling Enterprises. My phone buzzed, a text from my CFO. "Everything's set for tomorrow's Maven meeting. They're desperate to close the deal." I texted back, "Any word on their other acquisitions?" "Just one pending, some small spa chain. Doesn't impact our plans." If they only knew. I rejoined the party just as Diana was showing off blueprints for her newest spa location. "Once the Maven deal goes through, we'll be expanding to every major city," she bragged. "Thomas says it's a sure thing." Thomas shifted uncomfortably in his seat. As an investment banker, he knew how precarious Maven's position was. He just didn't know that his fiancée's supposedly successful sister held their fate in her hands. When's the Maven deal supposed to close? I asked innocently. Next week, Diana replied dismissively. Not that you'd understand business matters, Olivia. Just stick to filing papers. Our mother quickly changed the subject to wedding plans, but I caught Thomas staring at me with growing suspicion. He wasn't stupid. He knew Sterling Enterprises was Maven's only hope for survival. And something about my question had set off alarm bells. Later, as guests were leaving, Thomas cornered me in the hallway. Your last name, he said quietly. It's Sterling, isn't it? I smiled, adjusting my H&M dress. Good night, Thomas. See you at tomorrow's meeting. The color drained from his face as realization dawned. I walked past him, enjoying the sound of his sharp intake of breath. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. Back in my modest apartment, actually the entire top floor of the city's most exclusive high-rise, I reviewed the Maven merger documents one last time. Diana's spa chain was hemorrhaging money, and Maven's acquisition was her last hope. But Maven was in worse shape than she knew. My phone buzzed again. Diana calling. Probably wanted to remind me to dress appropriately for her engagement party next weekend. I let it go to voicemail. Instead, I opened my laptop and logged into the Sterling Enterprises system. A few clicks brought up Diana's spa chain financials. She'd be shocked to know how easy it was for me to access everything about her business. The numbers were worse than even I had imagined. Another text from my CFO. Maven CEO seems nervous about tomorrow. Should we be concerned? I thought about Diana's smug smile, about years of being treated like I was nothing, about being the family's running joke. No, I replied. Everything's going exactly as planned. I poured myself a glass of wine, actual Chateau Lafite, not the knockoff Diana served tonight, and walked to my floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sparkled below, a testament to what I'd built while they weren't watching. Tomorrow they'd learn exactly who they'd been underestimating all these years. Tomorrow the secretary would show them what real power looks like. But tonight I savored the last few hours of being invisible. After all, I'd worked hard to maintain this facade. Every dismissive comment, every condescending smile, every mundane task they'd asked of me, it had all led to this moment. I picked up the Maven merger document, running my finger over the signature line where their CEO would beg for my approval tomorrow. One signature that would determine not just Maven's fate, but Diana's entire future. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Diana. Don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning before work tomorrow. And try to dress professionally for once. Thomas's firm is having some big meeting. I smiled, setting down my wine glass. Oh Diana, if you only knew. The next morning I dressed with particular care, choosing a custom-made Armani suit instead of my usual secretary attire. Today was not a day for blending in. The Sterling Enterprises boardroom occupied the entire top floor of our downtown headquarters, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a commanding view of the city. As I walked in, my executive team was already seated, each one suppressing a smile. They'd been part of this charade for years, helping maintain my low profile while we built an empire. Miss Sterling, my assistant Sarah greeted me formally. The Maven team has arrived. They're in the waiting room with your sister's fiancé. I checked my watch. Let's not keep them waiting. The Maven contingent filed in, led by their CEO Harold Barnes. Behind him came their executive team, their lawyers, and Thomas, who stopped dead in his tracks when he saw me at the head of the table. Please sit, I gestured to the chairs. We have much to discuss. Harold Barnes stepped forward, confusion evident on his face. We're here to meet with Sterling Enterprises CEO. Yes, I smiled. You are. The color drained from Thomas's face as he sank into a chair. The others looked between us, trying to understand what was happening. I don't understand, Barnes sputtered. We were told. You were told you'd be meeting with Sterling Enterprises CEO to discuss the merger. And you are. I leaned forward. I'm Olivia Sterling. I founded this company 5 years ago. The silence was deafening. Thomas looked like he might faint. Now, I continued, opening the merger proposal, let's discuss why this deal isn't going to happen. Barnes started to protest, but I held up a hand. Your company is hemorrhaging money. Your technology is outdated. Your market share is dropping. The only valuable assets you have are the companies you're trying to acquire, including my sister's spa chain. Thomas finally found his voice. Diana, she doesn't know, does she? That her secretary sister is actually a CEO worth billions? That the company she's counting on to save her business is about to be denied by me. I smiled coldly. No, she doesn't. Yet. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Diana's name flashed on the screen. I put it on speaker. Olivia. Where are you? You were supposed to pick up my dry cleaning. The Maven team shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I'm in a meeting, Diana. Oh please, like your filing is so important. I need that dress for lunch with Thomas's colleagues. By the way, did you tell your boss about giving us a corporate account for the spa? I caught Thomas's eye. He looked physically ill. Actually, Diana, I have been meaning to discuss business with you. Why don't you come to Sterling Enterprises? Top floor. The receptionist will direct you. Ugh, fine. But this better not take long. Some of us have real work to do. 20 minutes later, Diana burst into the boardroom, designer purse swinging. Olivia, what are you? She froze, taking in the scene before her. I watched as her eyes darted from Thomas's ashen face to the Maven executives to me, sitting at the head of the table. What is this? This, I gestured around the room, is a merger meeting. Or rather, the end of one. I don't understand. Why are you sitting at the head of the table? Because I'm Olivia Sterling, CEO and founder of Sterling Enterprises. I let that sink in. The same company that's about to decline Maven's merger proposal, effectively ending their ability to acquire your spa chain. Diana's knees buckled. Thomas caught her before she fell. That's impossible. You're a secretary. No, Diana. That's just what you wanted to believe. It was easier than admitting your little sister might be more successful than you. The Maven team watched this family drama unfold with horrified fascination. Mr. Barnes, I turned back to their CEO. Sterling Enterprises will be declining your merger proposal. However, I slid a document across the table. We are prepared to acquire Maven's technology division. At a significantly reduced price, given your desperate position. Barnes wiped sweat from his forehead. We can't possibly. You can and you will. Because without this deal, Maven will be bankrupt within 6 months. Your choice. Diana found her voice again. But what about my spas? The Maven deal was supposed to save your failing business? I finished for her. Maybe you should have thought about that before treating me like your personal servant for the past 5 years. We're family, she protested. Family. I laughed. Was I family when you made me pick up your dry cleaning? When you mocked my secretary job to your friends? When you demanded I get coffee for your business meetings? Tears streamed down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. I didn't know. No, you didn't. Because you never bothered to ask. None of you did. I turned to Thomas. I assume the engagement is still on? Now that you know your fiancé's little sister isn't just a secretary? He couldn't meet my eyes. I stood up, smoothing my Armani suit. Mr. Barnes, you have 1 hour to accept our offer. Diana, I believe you have some dry cleaning to pick up. Thomas, good luck with the wedding. I won't be attending. Olivia, please. Diana grabbed my arm as I walked past. You can't do this to me. To us. I gently removed her hand. Actually, I can. And I did. Consider it 5 years of karma, delivered all at once. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Maven accepted our offer, their stock plummeted, and Diana's spa chain lost its last hope of survival. By evening, the business world was buzzing with the news that Sterling Enterprises' mysterious CEO had finally revealed herself. My phone didn't stop ringing. First Diana, then my parents, then extended family members who suddenly remembered my existence. I blocked them all. A week later, I sat in my office reviewing the aftermath. Diana's spa chain filed for bankruptcy. Thomas postponed the wedding indefinitely. My parents, who had invested their retirement in Diana's business, were facing financial ruin. Sarah brought in a stack of messages. Your mother's called 8 times. She says it's about your father's heart condition, which he mysteriously developed right after learning his youngest daughter is a billionaire? I raised an eyebrow. They're getting creative, Sarah admitted. I turned to the window, watching the sunset paint the city gold. Any word from Diana? She's applied for 3 different positions here at Sterling. Under different names. I couldn't help but laugh. Forward the applications to HR. Let them treat her like any other candidate. That night I attended a charity gala, the same one where Diana had once told her friends I couldn't afford a ticket. I wore a couture gown that cost more than her entire spa chain, enjoying the whispers and stares as people recognized me from the news. Miss Sterling. A reporter approached. Everyone's wondering, why maintain the secretary facade for so long? I smiled, thinking of all the family dinners where I'd sat quietly while they boasted about their achievements. Sometimes the best way to learn the truth about people is to let them think you're nobody. The story made headlines, secretary revealed as billionaire CEO. Diana's friends who had once looked through me, now desperately sought connections on LinkedIn. Thomas's firm sent multiple partnership proposals. Even Maven CEO tried to rebuild bridges. I declined them all. 3 months later, I received an invitation to a family meeting at my parents' house. They wanted to clear the air and start fresh. I sent back a brief response. I'm busy. Ask my secretary to schedule something. Diana eventually got a job, as an actual secretary at a small law firm. I heard she struggled with filing and coffee runs. My parents had to sell their house and downsize significantly. Thomas married a real estate agent, though I noticed he carefully vetted her background first. As for me, Sterling Enterprises continued to grow. I bought the building where Diana's main spa had been and turned it into a technology innovation center. Sometimes I saw her walking past, staring up at the sign that bore my name. Last week my assistant forwarded me an email from Diana. I understand now, she wrote. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I never imagined. I didn't respond. Some lessons don't need acknowledgement. Instead, I focused on running my company, the one I'd built while they were too busy looking down on me to notice I was rising above them. Every morning, I walk into my boardroom wearing power suits that cost more than Diana's wedding would have, making decisions that affect thousands of lives. And sometimes, just for fun, I answer my own phone and say, Sterling Enterprises, how may I direct your call? After all, there's no shame in being a secretary. Unless, of course, you're not one at all. The view from the top is particularly sweet when everyone thought you belonged at the bottom. Just ask my sister. If you can get past her new boss's secretary,